The challenge is you have a lot of demands on your time, both strategically and tactically. I think two things have helped us within Colgate to be successful in managing those conflicts. The first has to do with guiding principles, and we have a set of guiding principles that we adhere to pretty strictly. And then the second is a strong governance process. So the first around guiding principles. There are three guiding principles that we go through. The first has to do with our strategy of same systems, same information, same performance everywhere. That's the first. The second is around that we've consolidated our strategic relationships to very few partners, and we funnel as much work through those partners as we possibly can to leverage our joint R&D investments. And the third principle is around we do things ourselves. As much as possible, we try to have our people around the world working on the projects as opposed to using a lot of third parties to do the implementations. So those are the guiding principles that we stick to. The other area is around governance. We are very fortunate in that we have very strong management commitment to spending time with us on governing the IT organization. So we have an IT steering committee. That steering committee is made up of our CEO, all of his direct reports, and all function heads. And this group meets 3 times a year for 3 hours. And we spend 3 hours talking about just IT-enabled projects supporting the business. And they are very good about and very clear about what our priorities are. And this helps us because we manage our IT organization globally. The critical thing is to have these meetings where all the peers are looking at themselves and they're kind of justifying why their things are important, because you quickly get to the essence of what is really important versus what is a nice to have. That happens pretty quickly and pretty transparently. I think bringing to those meetings and the meetings leading up to those meetings, it's important for the business to understand, what the risks are, what the trade-offs are, so that they can make an informed decision. The worst thing you can do is walk into a meeting and not give the steering committee all the information they need to make a decision, only for them to make a decision and find out later, wow, you left a pretty important piece of information out of that. I don't know that I would have made that priority decision had you mentioned that. So I think it's important to get everything out on the table and do it in a constructive way and do it at a level at which, because there is also an expectation that we're managing below the surface, because we know more about the details. But for the big major decisions, the steering committee does a very good job at giving us direction. I can come out of one of these meetings and tell anybody this was the decision that was made by all of the people who have a say. And so a lot of times, down in the middle rungs of management, you can get into conflicts in terms of priorities and things like that. But when you can use the leverage of the decisions and priorities that have come out of the steering committee, and we publish those priorities, it helps us to focus. We don't waste much time at all nitpicking on priorities and things like that. The priorities are crystal clear.